The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Everybody has their own story and their own journey to share. Every journey conceals another journey within its lines. The path not taken and the forgotten angle. Listen to the stories from others sharing their triumphs and struggles that led them to where they are today. Welcome to The Journey Within You. Today, I have a very special guest, Gabi Kelley. And Gabi, I'm just thrilled to have you on this podcast with me. We've known each other a few years now. We have a mutual friend, Brooke Hemingway, and we've been at several events together. And I got to see you a couple weekends ago virtually, unfortunately, but at least I got to see it. You give your speech on stage and you did magnificent, my friend. It was
Thank you.
so good. I loved your presence, and you owned the stage. You didn't show any fear whatsoever. So it was really, really good. But Gabi, I'd love for you to share your story with our audience today.
You bet. And thank you, Laura, for inviting me to be on your podcast. It's such an honor and it's so fun to talk to you.
Thank you.
And I saw your name up because they had like a big screen with all the virtual attendees. And I saw your name up there. I was like, oh, she's here.
It was fun to be there that way, at least.
Yeah, so cool. So my story, goodness. Well, there's a lot to my story, but for the sake of today, I will just say that I am very passionate about seeing people, especially women, are really my heart, to see them set free from the trauma that they've endured and to heal and to find safe spaces where they can really breathe and be free and become who they're meant to be. I personally did not really understand that I have my own trauma history, because for a lot of people who just grow up in dysfunction, you don't really recognize that it's dysfunction, right?
Right.
Until you're an adult. And even at that point, it can be really difficult to name it because there's a lot of shame in that. But for me, I adopted an amazing little boy from Ethiopia almost 9 years ago now, which is crazy.
Wow.
He's almost 10 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. And he came home when he was 15 months old, and it was an incredible experience for sure. But shortly after he came home and he was my first child, I started to feel like there's something off. Something's not right, like he's having some emotional issues, our attachment isn't what it should be. And I was very naive about any kind of trauma education or attachment education, any of that at that point. And really no one would listen to us. And since he was our first child, we're like, are we crazy? Maybe this is always how it is, maybe this is normal. But that mom gut feeling, like I knew that something was wrong. And so finally, after time of, years of advocating for him, we finally found people who were helping us understand, like, there are attachment disorders and there are issues that happen for children who have attachment ruptures, especially as infants, which I think there's a lot of confusion about that. Like, people think if you adopt an older child, they're going to have more struggles than a younger child, but it's actually the opposite. Because now that I know more about neuroscience and all of that, if there's an attachment disruption between birth and 3 years old, that's when your brain is learning how to trust people and learning how to attach to people and relate to people. So if there's a disruption during that time, it's actually much more difficult to heal because those neural pathways in your brain are set up to not trust people, set up to make you feel like you're in this world alone, and you basically do whatever you can to protect yourself and survive. So all that to say, as I was helping him find therapies and learning about what was going on in his brain, I began to really recognize myself in his story. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these things that these therapists and experts, adoption advocates, and things are telling me that he needs are things that I
You need.
never had.
Mm,
Like, I never had compassionate attunement. I never had someone love me for just me and not for how I performed.
mm.
I realized that I myself had attachment disorders and didn't trust people. And that helped me to really dig into my own story and realize that I had actually suffered abuse my entire life,
Mm.
mentally, emotionally, physically, verbally. And it was a very, very eye-opening
How old were
thing
you
for
at that
me.
time?
Probably 32,
Mm,
33.
mm.
Which is
It
crazy.
is, isn't it?
I mean, I knew it's not like I didn't know that
Right.
there
You
were
suppress
crazy things
things.
that
Yeah.
happened in my family,
Yeah.
but I never would have called myself a trauma survivor.
Right.
Um, but I really started digging in. I started even like Googling my symptoms and stuff like that, which I don't
We
always
always do
recommend.
that. Oh
But
my.
I uncovered complex PTSD, which is CPTSD.
Hmm.
And when I started learning about complex PTSD, and I read a book by um, Pete Walker
Mm-hmm.
called Complex PTSD From Surviving to Thriving, I highly recommend it. I thought he wrote this book about me. I was like,
Wow.
he's in my head, he's in my body, like he understands exactly how I feel in existing in the world.
Hmm.
So I self-diagnosed CPTSD, um, and it's been an amazing journey ever since, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
where I decided like if I'm going to be able to parent my kids, I have a daughter as well.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to be able to parent my kids in a way that's compassionate, that helps them connect and attach, I have to heal
Mm.
because I can't give them something that I don't have.
Right. That's so big for you to realize that because
Yeah.
that opened a lot of doors.
Yeah. So I am just so grateful. Like,
Mm.
honestly, I was really, as you heard in the talk that I gave, I was really, really mad at God at one point for an extended period of time because I was like, why would you have us adopt a child? And then I'm like praying for my kids every day, and
And
there's all
then,
these
mm.
promises about what you'll do for the children of the people who
Mm-hmm.
believe in you. And
Mm-hmm.
here, like, our family's falling apart, everything's going wrong. I was so angry.
Oh, I can imagine.
But through the process, that's really what led me to heal. And it's helped me to help my children heal. And now it's what I'm passionate about. And I get to see other people around me heal.
Mm.
And it's like the most incredible gift. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's
No.
not. It's still a challenge every single day of my life. But it's so beautiful and it's such a gift. And learning about how God has wired us and um, created our nervous systems, like to really long for being seen
Mm-hmm.
and known and loved. Like there's so much of Jesus in that,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm a total Jesus girl.
Oh
So,
yeah. Me too. Me too,
um,
girl.
and it's just like the most beautiful unfolding of getting to know God, getting to know myself, and really offering myself so much of what I never got to have
Oh
before.
yeah. That's
So I'm
so
just
neat.
passionate about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, with your children, I mean, did you start attending sessions separately or together, or how did all that work?
It's been a process. Right before my son started kindergarten, I believe, if the timeline's right in my head,
Mm.
we started doing a modality called TheraPlay with him,
Mm-hmm.
which had been highly recommended by other adoptive parents. Basically, what TheraPlay is a specific therapeutic intervention for attachment wounds.
Okay.
So one parent will attend each session with the child,
Mm-hmm.
and you do games, but each game is specifically designed to help the child start to trust the parent
Mm.
and start to believe that the parent sees them and they're for them. So we
Mm-hmm.
did that
Mm-hmm.
for about a year and a half. And then since then, he's also been in just like different one-on-one therapy as well. He's older now, so
Right.
Theraplay is really for littles.
Right.
Um, but it's an ongoing process of advocacy for him and myself and making sure that he gets exactly what he needs. And it's gonna keep shifting and changing as he
As
gets
you get
older.
older, right. Meet
Mhm.
different needs, I'm sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
But
like,
that's kind of been our process.
I know a lot of people think, well, I'm sure there's a lot of cost to that. I mean, is insurance help, or is that something you guys have had to do, or?
Well, we were really, really blessed, honestly, because for most of our marriage, we've been pretty dang broke. I'm not gonna
Mm,
lie.
mm.
Um, but I think when God calls you to something, and
He leads
especially
you.
when you really understand that He desires your healing more than
Mm-hmm.
He desires anything else,
Mm-hmm.
the faith journey of believing He'll provide for that has been huge. So
Oh,
for him, the Theraplay was really minimal because we were in Texas at the time, and there was actually a foundation that funded this entire campus that was
wow.
like this therapeutic campus. So they paid for most of
How
it,
awesome is
which was
that?
incredible. Yeah. And
Oh,
they actually paid for me to get some therapy sessions there as well.
mm,
And now here in Washington, where we live now, his insurance covers his
mm-hmm.
therapy, which is
Mm-hmm.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I pay a butt ton of money for my own
Oh,
personal therapy.
yeah.
But now that I do that and I found a therapist who's a good fit, I'm like, I don't care how
You'll
much it
do what you
costs
have to do. Yeah.
because it's literally healing me and changing my life. It's
Mm-hmm.
completely worth it. So whatever I have to do to be able to afford that, I make it happen.
Mm, mm. And how old's your daughter now?
She's 7. She's in first grade.
Oh, now does she have to go through any of the therapy, or does she understand what's going on, or?
She understands some. I mean, we do everything in child appropriate language.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she did have to go to a therapist for a while because she was having extreme anxiety,
Mm,
which is really understandable considering the volatility that was happening in our home.
yeah.
But for the most part, for her, having open communication and using the connection parenting techniques that we've learned have been invaluable for her. So we
Oh,
have
that's
a
awesome.
really wonderful relationship. I'm very, very open to her having
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic intervention anytime that she needs to talk to anybody.
Mm,
So, yes, she has. She's not in therapy right now, but she
yeah.
has been
And I
in
think
therapy
that would
before.
be something that she would have needed. I mean, when it affects, one, it affects all. So,
Oh, yeah,
that was beautiful. Excuse me, that she could have that also to be able to talk to someone. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
so take me back a little bit, where you came from, where were you born and things, and kind of lead me through that.
I was actually born and raised in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I'm a Colorado girl.
Yeah.
I
Love
lived
that.
there my whole life. I went to college in Colorado, got married in Colorado, and then we moved to Texas about 7 years ago. We were there for 4 years,
Mm.
and then we moved up to Spokane, Washington, which is moving to Spokane was really just a choice for our own family's health.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay.
Because like my husband and I were both from Colorado. My husband grew up skiing and
Mm.
hiking
Mm.
and being outside all the time, and that was really hard in Dallas, Texas.
No, a little
So
bit.
he was like dying in
I bet.
Texas.
I bet.
And so I actually came up to Spokane a little over 2 years ago to visit one of my best friends with my daughter. Things were really, really hard in our home at that time,
Mm.
with my son and his struggles and all the things that we were dealing with. So I got her out for a couple of weeks up here to Spokane, and I had never been before,
Yeah,
but I was like, oh wow, it's
it
beautiful.
is.
There's skiing, there's rivers and lakes.
Mm.
So I was like, hey babe, why don't we just move up there? We have friends. It's beautiful. It's cheaper than Denver.
Yeah.
So we just made it happen. Like about 3 months later,
Oh,
we had
wow. That
moved.
was fast.
Yeah. So
That's
we've been here
awesome.
almost 2 years, but it
Yeah.
was completely a choice for our family's mental health
And he
to
was
move
able to
up here.
find work okay and transfer
Well,
or?
we both are entrepreneurs. We both work for
Oh, that's
ourselves. So
great.
he didn't have to find a new job. We just
Another
brought our jobs
benefit,
with us.
another great benefit of being your own boss. I love
Oh
it.
my gosh,
I
for
love it.
real.
Yeah, we do too. We love it. We
Yeah.
just came through Dallas. We made our trek to California to work,
hmm
and it was not very happening because of the weather and everything going on. So we had to turn it back around and come home after just a few days there. And that's a long
Oh,
ride, long
it
ride.
is.
But
Oh my
I've been to
goodness.
Spokane, and I love it out there. It's beautiful. But
Yeah.
y'all are settling in good, it sounds like, and got your life going there, and in an area that
Yeah.
you all feel like you have something you can do, like the skiing and getting outdoors. That's always important.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Important.
tell you what, skiing, because even in Colorado, like we lived in Denver, and it could take, especially with traffic, like
Oh
two
gosh,
and a half
yes.
hours to get
Mm-hmm.
to a ski resort. And here it takes less than 40 minutes. So it's
Oh,
pretty
that's nice.
awesome.
That's
Yeah.
quick. And have y'all had a lot of snow this year, or has it been?
We had a lot of late snow, so
Yeah.
there's still a lot of snow up on the mountain right
Yeah,
now,
so I
which is
thought we've been getting later snow than normal in a lot of
yeah.
areas. Um,
hmm
so, Gabi, tell me some of the things that you do offer now through your coaching and your podcast you have. So, tell us a little bit more about all that.
Yeah, you bet. So I have a podcast called Pain to Passion Live. And on that podcast, I love to amplify stories of people who have been through difficult things and have turned those things into something beautiful to give back to the world. So I've had some incredible guests who are so inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Today, the day that we're recording this, I just released an episode with one of my favorite authors, Andy Kolber, who is hugely influential in my life. So lots of just like therapists, and we've had a neuroscientist and coaches and just
Mm.
people who are doing amazing things in the world. And then I also do a short episode every week that's just me kind of chatting about my story and different things that are on my heart. And it's been a lot of fun. I absolutely love the
Yeah, I've
podcast.
enjoyed your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you
It's
so
been
much.
great.
Thank
I
you.
saw your new
Uh,
episode today, and I was like, "Oh, I got another one to listen to."
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah.
Definitely go check it
Oh,
out.
I
It's a
will.
really good
I
one.
will. Sure will.
And then I also do coaching. Right now, I have one-on-one coaching spots available where I help people with a couple of different things. One is I love to help people just find a safe space where they
Mm.
feel free to share their story
Mm-hmm.
and learn how their nervous systems work. So befriending their nervous systems, so that they can really dream chase
Mm.
without feeling like stuck
Yeah,
or activated is the word that I use a
I like
lot,
that.
where,
I like that.
we get anxious or we shut down when we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do the things that we want to do, and
Mm-hmm.
it can be so frustrating. And then I also help people learn their voice so that they can write down their story.
Mm. Mm.
So I do that as well. And I speak at events, and I will do a group coaching program soon. So there's a
Mm.
space on my website where you can get on the waiting list for that.
Exciting.
And I'm writing a book, so
Oh,
my
you
book will
go,
be
girl.
released
That's awesome. Do you already
this
have the
year at some
title?
point. There's a working title. We'll see if it sticks, but it might
Yeah.
be called The Healing Dreamer.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I'm excited about that. Manuscript's almost completed,
Oh,
and we'll be
wow.
moving
That's
forward with that.
wonderful. Now, are you
Yeah.
working with someone special in writing it, or?
Well, at this point, I'm working on getting an agent, so that's the next step for
Yeah.
me, but I'll
Okay.
keep you all
Okay.
posted on how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And my
Definitely.
husband actually has a little publishing company, so
Oh,
we can go through that as well if I
nice.
get, like a traditional
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, book deal.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. That is so good. You're doing all the things, Mama, and being a
I'm
busy
trying.
mama.
Yes,
So
and I'm
many,
a mom.
so many think they can't do things because they've got kids and they're so busy. And I'm like, no, you do what you want to do, right? And if you have the heart
Mhm,
and the passion and you
mhm.
go for it, you do it
Yeah.
because like I decided, here I am 61 and I'm not too old. Do the podcast. Just get out there and
Mm-hmm.
do the
Good
thing.
for
So,
you.
yeah, so it's so fun to be able to grow in areas of our lives and expand and show our children, that it's possible. They
Yeah.
learn and watching you and seeing you through all the healing, that they're
Yeah.
capable of doing the same thing, and if not more. So that's going to be
Absolutely.
so awesome watching them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what is one thing that you would tell our listeners through the healing, maybe was the hardest for you or anybody? What's one of the things that seems to be hard for people in their healing process?
As you bring up the continuing to pursue what you want to do when you have kids,
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, just to have so much compassion for yourself, especially if you're in a similar situation.
Mm,
I really had to put a lot on the back burner for several years, and it was very discouraging because I've always been a big dreamer.
mm,
There was a lot that I wanted to do, but I was like drowning in trying to help my kids.
right, right.
Um, but I do not regret spending the time that I spent just helping them
Mm,
and also finding the healing that I needed.
mm-hmm.
I would say don't be discouraged if your timeline looks much different than you expected. I am not at all doing or where I expected to be at this time in my life,
Mm-hmm.
but I am much more whole
Right.
because the process has been slow, but it's been what I've needed.
Mm,
So I know that can be really discouraging for a lot of people. Is like this, my life just doesn't look like I wanted it to look, and this is a lot harder than I expected it to be.
yeah.
And just that's okay. And it's okay to pace yourself. It's okay to take things slow. You don't have to perform in any specific way. Like I said earlier, God is so much more concerned with your healing
With the healing,
than even
yes.
your productivity or
Mm-hmm.
what you accomplish.
And I think
And if
that's
you, at
key.
the end of your life, if you've become more whole and more free, like that's the thing that matters the most.
I can't agree more. That is so true because, through that healing and now in the place that you are, you're able to be fully present. You're able to do the things in a better form that you probably couldn't have done in all that. When we use the word chaos, I guess, because that seems to be a
Mm-hmm.
word that, in our heads, we'd think, oh my gosh, that's a lot on your plate with all the healing and the,
Mm-hmm.
the diversity of the children and your
Mm-hmm.
healing. And so, yeah, the timeline, take your time, breathe through it,
Mm-hmm.
and heal completely. And though, like you said, there's still days. I know that you said it's not always easy, but you know more now how to go about and handle those, right?
Yeah, we'll always be healing.
Right.
But there is a point at which you become more awake to your own life
Mm-hmm.
because of you're not dissociating as much. Like
Right, right.
that's something that I used to do all the time. You're not
Did you?
just pushing yourself beyond your capacity because you
Mm,
feel like that's what you have to do.
mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be healing for my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to stop me from doing the things that I'm
Pursuing.
called to do. It's going to actually empower me to do that in a healthier way.
Oh, that's powerful right there. To do it in a
Yeah.
healthy way, and that you will grow from, and people around you will benefit from that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's beautiful. Well, Gabi, I thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your
Of
story.
course.
And I'll put contacts at the end of our podcast so people can connect with you and how they want to through your podcast, through coaching, however they want to reach out to you. And we'll have all that information there for you.
Sounds amazing. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you for joining my podcast today. We all have a story to share. Each story has purpose and makes an impact to you, the listener, creating a journey with passion and purpose. The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Please share with others and subscribe below.